of ideas that this kind of river, both sacred and profane, um, brings about in our own ideas. The very
Yeah.
thing that you just mentioned. How is it, uh, and how should we treat a river which is both sacred and profane? And one of the things that has always struck me, and again it's something you mentioned in your talk today, is the way in which the Ganges is both resolutely singular, everyone knows where it is, and yet of course it is multiple at the same time. The Ganges that has been seized and taken, the Ganges that is present in every tank, in every town,
Or every temple.
at every temple in India. I was just rereading a bit of Gandhi's autobiography, and he writes about how when he returns from London, having become a lawyer, he has to face up to his caste council, which of course had outcasted him for crossing the black waters, the Kalapani. Um, so crossing one kind of water uh, outcasts him, and he can only be, as it were, recasted or recast uh, by being bathed in a river. His brother takes him to Nashik to bathe him in the Ganges, which of course doesn't exist there. Uh, just a small example of this, and I was just wondering how one might think about the river that is both place and yet is placeless. It is
Right.
multiple in all kinds of ways, and it just struck me the various ways in which multiplicity occurs in Indian mythology and
Absolutely.
philosophy and popular culture. Whether it is in negative form, the different heads of Ravan, or whether it is in the Draupadi's sari, which never ends, which is infinitely multiplied, or in the figure of Krishna himself, who appears everywhere,
And the Buddha too
or in the
appears.
Buddha, or in films, in Bollywood films, where you have this kind of repeated appearance, because it disallows conventional modern ways of thinking about our surroundings,
It's true.
and yet it's all perfectly modern. There's nothing antiquated about it.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could just say something about the Ganges and the way in which it allows you to think, as it were, in two kind of epistemological registers.
I think the most simple way to think about it is replication and repetition. The prayers that are in the Tirtha Chintamani from the 12th century has been repeated all through various paddhatis and various for centuries, right? This repetition itself is replication and endless division of the same thing, which comes together. Now you can think of it as a remarkable idea that maybe this water has a power of cleansing, power of healing. That's why lepers were often thrown into the water. Kabir's son Kamal cured a leper through sprinkling Ganges water, and then he gave him a gift, and Kabir threw him out, saying that why do you take a gift? This is all natural. The same Kabir says, when the rain fills up the gutters, nobody drinks the roadside water, but when that water enters the Ganga, it becomes Ganga water. So there's this dichotomy of the sacred and the profane and the dirt and the cleansing part, and it's a very interesting way of thinking about how, in some ways, this distinction between what is pure and what is polluted is actually, and what is replicated in supplication is actually all together. I mean, I'll just give you one example which I found very moving. When Bhagirath brings Ganga down to earth, Ganga says, if millions of people bathe with all their sins in my water all the time, who will clean me? What will happen to me? And Bhagirath's answer is fascinating. He said, no, you got it wrong. Along with the most wretched people, the holiest of people will also bathe in your water. And their punya, right, will marjana, which is to wash and also to forgive, right? From the root mrija, will clean you too. And I think it's a very interesting way of thinking about it, this sort of constant reciprocity. And the other thing is that, the attitude towards death is so different, right? The death is just this threshold, and the river is just, the great metaphysical threshold for afterlife as well. And this idea of the embodied and the disembodied is also part of this. It's very much there across the gamut of Indian philosophy, that the river is actually, in some ways, a manifestation of something which is much larger. What happens to the river the moment it enters the ocean? You know. So I'm sorry I'm giving such long philosophical answers, but the question is a very important one, a powerful one. And the question goes back to what is a miracle? It is a miracle. Without water, we die. H2O is a miracle in terms of life is itself. Think about the most common word in Bengali for, I'm sorry, this is for agriculture. We say chash from, or krishi. Abad. Abad is from the root Persian word ab, right? And what is the word for increase of population? Abadani. What is the name of a city? Allahabad. Actually, that's what later became Allahabad. Think of all the abads that are there. Ab. Of course, Abadan, by the way, is a name of a city near Tigris and is as old as that. So, yes, it is one of the things that have puzzled me. I don't have a good answer to it. Ganga water is used for your last breath, if you're a devout Hindu, but it's also used for every other common purpose. Right? So water itself has this duality, and I think that it's part of a different kind of a conception of a thing, of a commodity, of a fetish, if you like, of a thing that we value. But perhaps we should move on to some other questions. Yeah.
No, I just think